Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. They say that one of the most fearful things we have or do is speaking in public. The polls are taken every year, and usually it's one of the top two or three things, sometimes number one thing. But we're challenged all the time with our jobs, with Zoom presentations, with presentations in general. How can you get that confidence to present, feel good about it, walk away saying, yeah, I did a great job, and get the results that you want? We're going to talk to a professional about that today, somebody who has been in radio for decades. She's a voice actor, helps people, coaches them all along the way. Shelley Cohen joins us here on the program. Welcome. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. And I hear this all the time from people that oh God, I gotta put together a Zoom presentation. And then they freeze. And the fear ensues and I'm sure you hear that a lot from people that you work with, right?
Oh gosh, yes, exactly. And I don't know if you know the saying from Seinfeld, where people would rather be dead. That's than presenting. That's
Right.
the number one fear is public speaking, not death.
Yeah.
So, and I have to admit that it affects, that paralyzed feeling affects more of us than people realize. And so I work to help people get over that fear.
Now, when we talk about presentations, I mentioned Zoom because since COVID, it became so popular. What are some of the other presentations that you help people with?
Well, executives, for example, who have to present live in person. So Zoom meetings and presentations are a little easier, even though it's still people out there judging us, which is part of the cause of the fear, right?
Mm.
But when you're live in person, meeting people who are your superiors and you have to report to them on a regular basis, initially, especially for managers who are moving up the chain and they don't have that, they haven't had that exposure to so-called C-suite folks. So, the easiest way to get over that there's a number of ways to get over it, but preparation is probably one of the best.
I completely agree. And sometimes that preparation makes it look like you didn't prepare,
Exactly.
but you did.
Right. Exactly.
And
And
maybe
and
that's
the
the
other
trick. I don't know.
well, Steve, you're a pretty seasoned guy who's been doing, I'm sure, all kinds of public speaking and all of that. So for you and someone you would think like me, it's easy, okay? It seems to come to us easily. But I have to tell you that no matter what presentation I'm going to be doing, even for today, I get anxious. And anxiety is all over. Everybody seems to have it.
Sure.
And so a long time ago, when I was voice acting for a client, I went into his newly built studio, which was up at the top of some steps. And the door was right there. And his part of the studio with the console was the door on the left. And I mean, literally, I could not walk one step further. And then the studio door where I had to step in, I took one step and there was the microphone. I couldn't even put my elbows out to the wall.
Mm.
And I tried reading the script. And the reason I was hired is because of my lower tones. And suddenly, my lower tones became upper tones from anxiety because I was having a panic attack. True story. Okay.
Mm.
Cycle forward many years later, when I started coaching voice actors, I realized that panic attacks are part of anxiety, only magnified. And our anxiety is something that we actually can control. And so I have techniques that help people do that, whether you're presenting or voice acting. Whenever you're going into a new situation, our brains, our monkey brains that are primal, they go into fight or flight mode. They
Mm.
go into panic mode because we don't know what to expect. We fear the unknown, correct? It's a human reaction, and most people have it unless you're very well under control. And I have methods that help people counteract that.
It happens to all of us, and you're transparent. I'll be transparent as well. There were times, even though I've been doing what I've been doing for decades, that I would be asked to speak at a fundraiser. I love helping, but there would have been times over the years where I was like, I don't know, I just tell them I'm not feeling well.
Out of your
I
comfort zone.
I look back now and I say, why'd you do that? Because every time you do a presentation, you feel better about it. You move yourself forward. It was only until a few years ago I was asked to be the master of ceremonies for the induction ceremony of the county executive in this town. I never even met him. I know nothing about him. Just they knew of me and they asked me. And I researched him and figured it all out. And I can say, and that was only a few years ago, I can actually say after it was over, wow, finally, that came out great. It was like I rarely go like this, but after all that time, I was like, everything was a little bit
Exactly.
of audio issue, but I'm a geek. So at one point when I was able to walk away from the podium, other things were going on. I went backstage, tweaked the audio. We're all good with it. But the preparation is so key. And I even had, backup. Something goes wrong. What am I going to do? A lot of times, just be real. I mean,
Exactly.
something happens, just be natural.
Exactly.
Hey, that screwed up. I'm here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we move
Exactly.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tech things and tech doesn't always work in your favor. And so rather than panic, just think about how you can react. There are different choices that you can make. And, I am a very, I like to do a lot of different things at the same time. And multitasking it doesn't get easy as you get older. It's very difficult. And so you've got to have all your P's and Q's lined up so you know exactly what's happening when. And I have to tell you about this interview, I was panicking because I don't know what to expect. And I thought, "Oh, I'll do a presentation. Oh, I'll make up a bunch of notes." And then I took a deep breath and I said, "Forget it. Let's wing it." So I'm winging it today. Even though I teach presentations, I thought, well, I don't want to sound canned.
Let me go to my next question.
Sure,
This paper is empty. There's no preparation here.
exactly.
I just ask the questions that I think people might want to get the answers to.
Sure.
When it comes to presentations, do you have any suggestions, tips, tricks to help somebody get over the edge? I think many times we're all concerned about what we're going to sound like, because everybody says, well, I listen to my voice. Oh, I sound horrible.
I hate it. Yeah,
Yeah. Just gotta get past that because even
exactly.
somebody who's not polished just sounds like a regular person. That's great. That's different. It's real. It's unique. It's
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
But tips, any things that you can offer that might help somebody along the way?
Well, that's what I teach in my coaching.
Sure.
But my approach is different from most presentation training. I don't, I can, but each situation is unique when you get a coaching student, and everybody has different reasons for wanting a presentation coach.
Hmm.
And so I've had situations where it wasn't so much about the presentation and how to present, but more about the physical thing. And so I come from a place of figuring out how to calm yourself
Mm.
from the beginning. Okay. And there are all kinds of self help websites and gurus who talk about deep breathing. And while I'm not a guru, I am a practitioner, and deep breathing for anyone who is in the psychology or psychiatry profession, they're going to know that deep breathing is, um, I call it a panacea. They may not, but I believe that all the drugs, all the alcohol in the world cannot calm you down. You are the only one who can calm yourself down. And that is through deep breathing and meditation. And I teach that.
Hmm.
But it's not for the spiritual side. It's more for becoming mindful about how you breathe, how to connect your breath and the voice. So let's do a little trick here.
Sure.
So I'm just talking normally now, and you can tell it's coming from my throat. Now I'm speaking from my diaphragm. Can you tell the difference?
On Zoom, sometimes you can't, audio quality, but I can say that there's more resonance.
Exactly.
It's a
That's
little
exactly
bit,
it.
little bit richer,
Exactly.
a little more
Exactly.
natural. I want to call it
Exactly.
that.
Well, the thing is that I have to think about it physically to do it. And that takes time. And that's why my coaching takes time, because I call it vocal development. There's other exercises that I do as well, but training someone to talk down here from up here is what I do. And that is the secret sauce
Hmm.
to sounding confident, sounding more powerful behind any microphone. And I teach it to voice actors too.
What you offer is so different than others who do presentation coaching
Correct.
because you're also dealing with the mindset
Correct.
and the breathing thing. You may have heard it before, but until you truly practice it, you're not going to realize the impact. And many of us think, what's a couple of breaths going to do? Come on, I'm freaking out over here. It does. It's scientifically proven over decades how
Correct.
I call it like a reset button, like on your computer. It resets you. Got to give it a few moments, but it does make a huge difference. Like your mindset, you get clarity, you get, confidence. You just feel better for the
You
moment,
relax. You relax too.
right?
So I don't know if you're a Grey's Anatomy fan, but for anyone who is, several years ago, I remember in the operating room, Meredith and her sister were standing there. All three of them, the three sisters, were standing there, and they had that power move, and they were standing with their arms at their sides, taking 6 deep breaths to calm down and prepare themselves for this very serious operation that they were doing.
Hmm.
6 deep breaths will calm you down. So throw out your anti-anxiety medication
Yeah. Yeah.
and go take up yoga, because yoga is another secret sauce to calming yourself down. And it's really grown. And I go to a club in town where every class, every yoga class is completely filled because it's so powerful.
On my radar, haven't gotten there yet, just so busy. I am just about to make an appointment with a meditation coach. Never done that before. Just met one. I'm like, this guy, I like what he said. This could work for me. And to your point on yoga, a former radio boss of mine, and we're great friends, known him for 25 years. He many times when we would be in a work atmosphere, he would go, and I'm thinking, what's going on with this guy? Maybe it's anxiety. No, he was deep breathing. Fast forward to about 6 years ago, he found out he needed heart surgery immediately. Went in for a checkup. Oh, you're going to the hospital. And after that surgery, he lost his voice actually because of the
Mm.
anesthetics and everything, tubes that they had put down. Eventually got it back like 6 months later. But he started practicing yoga and he was already very grounded and very plugged in, this was a game changer in terms of his relaxation and clarity. So yes, to your point, if somebody can do yoga, you know, I
And
feel like we're
meditate.
we're doing therapy here. It's
Well,
amazing.
but yeah, because it really it really centers you. It
Yes.
also grounds you and helps your focus and concentration. So
Sure.
I've been meditating for over 50 years. So I know its power.
Yeah.
And I do teach it as part of my training to help people to get to that diaphragm so that they are talking on supported breath, regardless of whether you're talking as a voice actor or as a presenter.
Mm. So let's say you have a presentation coming up. Could be any type. You can plug in what type it might be. You practice deep breathing before the presentation. Let's assume that you planned ahead of time. So you know where you're going to go with that. What other things can we do to help it become a success?
Make sure that you have engagement with your audience. So over Zoom, you can do polls, you can do,
Mm,
questions where people raise their hands and you can get an idea of numbers. In person, you have to, usually when it's in a corporate setting, it's got to be done with that, whatever the reason is for the meeting, right? So you have to understand what the objectives are, what the purpose, what are you trying to do? Are you asking for money? You got to be really clear in how you are, not just in how you present yourself, but also the content has to be very clear. And, there has to be room. So, there's a structure on how to build a proper presentation, and there's so much information on the internet, and there are many, many gurus on this. I teach, a very simple structure. It's a little more complicated than this, but just for simplicity purposes and
sure.
time, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them, tell them what you told them. Writing 101.
Mm.
But in there, there's, there's your objectives and goals, the purpose and all of that. And then your point, story, and engage, ask questions, everybody on the same page, do you agree, that kind of thing. So, I also teach how to build the presentations as well as how to present them.
Questions can be powerful because right away you've drawn somebody in, right? Because they want to
Exactly.
answer it, even in their mind. Even if you start out, have you ever, when was the last time you, or let's say you sell insurance? Have you looked at your insurance bill lately? Every
Exactly.
insurance carrier is raising
Exactly.
their rates. True story. Have you really calculated what you're paying? Well, I'm going to tell you today how we can lower that. Some of the little tricks, whatever, but it draws somebody in.
Mhm,
Yeah.
exactly. The course I teach is called presentation prowess. And so, that kind of means all kinds of things, right? But, when you think of prowess, you think of a lion, right? Kind of
Mm,
on the
mm.
prowl, right? But it's somebody who can present confidently and, allay curiosity and understands their subject matter. And there are many people in IT, high tech, for example, who know are subject matter experts, but they have no idea on how to present. I come from IT. I was a communications specialist in Canada for the government for a number of years, and so I understand IT people. And sometimes it's hard to, pull them out of their shells. And so that's another thing that I can help with. I've also helped a number of
Mm.
teachers. um, I had one teacher come to me last year who had no idea why she wasn't sleeping. So she was exhausted at the end of her teaching day. She's a grade school teacher, and she could not catch her breath. She couldn't catch her breath. She couldn't yawn. She just was breathing so lightly that she wasn't getting enough oxygen. And it took me few weeks to figure this out. She'd seen chiropractors and homeopathists and regular doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. They put her on all kinds of anti-anxiety medication. None of it worked. And she came to me, and it took me a couple of weeks to pinpoint her issue, but it really was that she wasn't breathing deeply enough.
Mm,
And once I gave her the exercises and showed her how to do it, she was a different person. She
wow.
had, yeah, she had taught herself, I had taught her how to breathe deeply, how to engage her diaphragm. And I have something called BETS, which you have to contact me to find out what that is. It's a
Mm,
technique, and it will help anyone having anxiety or um, any kind of fear of public speaking.
wow. The breathing thing, we went back to it, but it's so important. I'm going to laser this down to 25 seconds. But a number of years ago, I was speaking with the son of a friend of mine, and he did a deck on the back of my house, and I was helping him with it as well. And again, he's much younger than me, and we were talking like, I'm not, I've been tired lately. I don't know what it is. I'm just like no energy. After longer conversation, we both identified that we were taking short breaths. I know it sounds ridiculous, but short,
Oh, it doesn't.
we didn't even know we
No,
were doing it
exactly.
until
No,
we both realized it for each other. And from that point forward, started taking deeper breaths. I'm like, wow, I have energy. So this is just goes to show how
exactly.
important this is. Now imagine you have a big presentation coming up, or that teacher feels so bad, all that time going on, where she probably had anxiety about connecting with her students, and she wouldn't be breathing deeply. And but a game changer. Amazing.
She had 36 students, so she was anxious about getting the work done for all 36 of them. Their
I don't
homework.
blame her.
Yeah, teachers have it hard.
Wow. How does it work with you, Shelley? If somebody, let's say in their line of work, they have to do presentations, they don't feel comfortable about it. They do them, but they know that they can do them better. How do they engage you?
ShelleyCohenVO.com/presentation prowess. And I actually have a package on. So there are 4 sessions, and I can do groups as well, all over Zoom. And I can work with you and your team to make sure that everybody's on the same page and can present properly.
Would you also critique somebody? Let's say I've got a presentation coming up next Tuesday. I want to engage you to up my game. Could I show you what I'm going to do, and then you kind of make suggestions?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. It's almost like you're the teacher in the wings of the podium, of the stage.
Exactly.
Where,
Exactly.
wow, a secret weapon, if you will. Uh, Shelley, great talking with you. Give me the website again, please.
www.shelleycohen, Shelley, Cohen, VO.com.
So if you've got anxiety about presentations, now the point here is now take that deep breath and talk to Shelley and just feel good about it. Final thought here. Doesn't it feel amazing after you've done a presentation? You had fun with it. You connected with the audience, and you walked away just with that feeling of elation, like, yeah, that went well,
Right.
and I connected.
Yeah, it's a high.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. It's the greatest, well, it's the adrenaline, right? And all the
Hmm.
serotonin, everything that makes you feel good that you're pumping through your
Yeah.
body this time, right?
Exactly. I love the fact that you go deeper. It's not just here's a couple of tricks, tips. Let me see how your posture is and all of that. It goes deeper, and I believe that's what you need to deliver effective
Exactly.
presentations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Exactly.
you. It's great talking with you today,
Thank you, Steve. You too.
and we'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Shelley Cohen, voice actor and voice crafter. How can I help you? Well, as a voice actor, I love telling your stories. As a vocal coach, I love crafting students' voices and giving them the skills and tools needed to succeed. And as a presentation coach, I also craft your voice and help build your confidence to present better. How can I help you? Visit ShelleyCohenVO.com and let's connect.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.